my new Parallels campaign. This is not a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, though it is a tabletop RPG. As usual, when I'm on one of these, I'm the host and GM, Chev. Well, I mean, I'm not always the GM, but usually the host. What we're playing today is, like I said at the top, a custom campaign named Parallels that I put together, and we're using a new system called Cortex Prime. This is a very flexible system. So I guess real quick, let's just introduce you guys, and then I'll go into the high level of how the system works. So we're gonna have 4 players in this campaign, and I'll just go from top to bottom here. First, we have Cloaking Device. Welcome.
Hello.
Code Man.
Hello.
Obi-Wan McGregor.
Hello.
And Rainbow.
No, I think I'll go by Rainbow Prime now.
Rainbow Prime. All right. And so we don't really have characters yet. I know that Obi-Wan, you have Gary, and so we'll dive into that a little bit more here. But real quick, I just want to go over the system, just from a very high level, kind of bird's eye view. This is not D&D. So in D&D, you're used to having a database full of items, a character sheet that's very specifically laid out with all your skills and your individual abilities and your initiative and your spells and your equipment, and everything is all kind of laid out. And D&D tends to get very bogged down in minutia, which can be fun. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. It's just very different. So a lot of the time, DMs like me try to force D&D to be something else. So you can play D&D. I think your style, Cloak, with Tomb of Annihilation, is a perfect example. It's a perfect contrast. Like it's very mechanical. You go through, you fight these battles. You find your way to the tomb. I don't want to spoil anything, but you solve different puzzles and beat baddies and all that stuff, and you don't really have to have a lot of role playing. People just kind of slip it in there as kind of a side deal. This game is way more about the role playing. So the reason I've really taken to it is because it really just seems to suit my style. So when you think about D&D, especially when we're doing these podcasts, is we want to try to put on a show for people. We want to have fun first and foremost, us together, but then also we want it to be fun to listen to. And so this whole system, Cortex Prime, kind of treats tabletop RPGs like storytelling rather than a game. I mean, it's still a game, technically, but it's more of us it's collaborative storytelling. It's like almost like sitting around a campfire and telling ghost stories kind of a thing. You can just embellish and add your own flavor, and every person's unique perspective and insight and style of play is going to be kind of the spotlight's going to be shown on all of that in this campaign. Hopefully, I've never run this before, so we'll see. But basically, every session it's called a session, and then sessions are made up of multiple scenes. So you can kind of see how it's like treated like a screenplay almost. So there'll be different scenes, and I kind of already treated D&D this way anyway. In my session prep for D&D, I put together scenes, and then decide what's going to happen in this scene, if there's a baddie or a puzzle or whatever, a tavern scene, that kind of stuff. But because you don't think of it as scenes, oftentimes you can get lost in like, okay, well, you're going to make your way from the tavern to the edge of town. Should something happen in the meantime? Should we fast forward? It's kind of all like up in the air. Whereas this is more like, okay, what scenes are going to impact the story? And let's jump from those to those. Let's not waste time walking down the street, that kind of stuff, unless there's something interesting that's going to happen walking down the street. And then each scene, there's story beats. Okay, so one thing so Cortex Pro, you can think of it kind of like a box of Legos. It's like the box comes with a set of instructions for the very base thing you can build out of that box of Legos. Like, oh, here's a spaceship. You can build a spaceship. So we're definitely going to start with building the spaceship. But then the instructions in the Lego box have a bunch of other stuff you could add on. You can upgrade the spaceship in multiple ways. And so we're going to start with very basic character sheets. We're going to basically just use Cortex Prime with almost no mods. and I'll describe that to you guys here in a little bit. And then what we're going to do from there is just kind of run with it, and I'll add mods as the campaign goes on, as we need to. There's some cool different mods in here that help set game pacing and stuff like that. Go ahead.
So, can you explain mods just quickly? Are we talking like mods like Skyrim mods, or?
I mean, so it's modifications to the rules. So you have the base Cortex Prime rules, and then these mods change them up a little bit or add things to them. It's stuff like that. So pretend that there's
you can
the
add
Lego
in
set has
like
a set of instructions, and then it has like alternative builds you could make or things you could add on to the main build, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool. So you can be like, oh, okay, we're all X-Men now. Or are you talking about something else?
Well, so I'll give you an example based on your X-Men thing. So let's say you started as a normal human, and then you find out, yeah, you're an X-Men now. You have a mutation. At that point, I would add the Powers mod, and the Powers mod has a whole dice pool thing that you can set up based on what powers you have as a character. And so then you would configure all of that, and it's really easy. Like I'll explain the dice system here in a second, but the whole thing is just based around tests and contests, really, and you're just trying to build a dice pool to make those rolls. So I'm going to have you come up with, I'll go in more detail in a minute, but just a high level on your character sheet, I'm going to have you come up with 3 distinctions for your character. So those are 3 unique things about your character that come into, or at least one of them comes into play into almost every decision or choice or action you make. So, for example, I think one of the examples the book uses is a notable journalist or something like that. You're a reputable journalist. If that's one of your distinctions, then that probably plays into a lot of the things that you do in your life. You're beholden to the truth. You dig deep to find all the little details that normal people miss. You're adept in social situations for kind of trying to talk your way into the back room somewhere where you can interview someone that otherwise people wouldn't have access to, or stuff like that. So think of like 3 different distinctions for your character. And then on top of that, we're just going to have 3 attributes: physical, mental, and social. And then for all of these things, you give them a die rating. So the distinctions will be 8s by default. But your attributes, physical, mental, and social, those are something that you can modify, which we'll talk about. And I'm going to give you guys a week, basically, to kind of, you can read parts of the book if you need to, or ask me questions, that kind of stuff. I'm kind of just, there's a lot to take in, so I'm kind of just flying by the seat of my pants as well. I've read a ton, but it's like the first time you read the book, like some of it goes in one ear and out the other, and so I just decided let's just start, and then we'll figure it out as we go. It's kind of how we did D&D, and it worked out pretty well. And so we'll worry about the dice rolls and stuff as we go, but the real quick and dirty of dice rolls is you build a dice pool based on everything from your sheet that applies. So if you're trying to take an action or something that your distinctive or your reputable journalist distinction would come into play, then you get to add the D8 from that to the pool. And then we'll say that's going to be a social situation. And say you're trying to like trick someone or reverse psychology or something your way into the back room to get a VIP interview. So that's social and mental. So you would get to take dice from both of those, whatever your ratings are on those. And your ratings are like a D4, a D6, a D8, D10, or D12. And most of the time it's going to be like a D6 or D8 by default on those starting out. So you could take those dice, the mental, social, and do the one from your distinction. That's 3 dice. And then you can roll those, and the top 2 you can add together to be your roll. And then the third one will be an effect dice, an effect die, which I'll explain later. It's real simple, though. The effect die, the number doesn't matter. It's what type of die it is. So if it's like a D6, then that's the rating. So think of the dice, the different size dice, as ratings. There's 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And there's no D20 in this. That's the other thing that's kind of weird, is we're not going to be using any D20s. So you might think that's weird at first, but the more we play, you'll understand. And so let's say if you're a real good journalist, your distinction or your social skills might be like a D10, for example. And so let's say that was part of your pool, you could use the D10. If the D10 ends up being your effect dice, then, well, let's say you're an IT technician or something, and you're trying to build some sort of network system or something. The effect die would determine like how good the result was. Like it's kind of like a little add-on. We'll go over that later. I'm getting lost off in the details. I apologize. I'm just trying to get through everything I think is important right here up front. I think that's most of it. Oh, and relationships. We're also going to give you a relationship, and you're going to rate that relationship as well. And I'm going to let you have as many relationships as you need, really. Because, like, I know Gary is going to have a relationship with Anna, as well as, like, his father, and I forget his roommate's name. What was his roommate's name? Chuck?
Chuck.
Yeah, so he'll have a relationship with Chuck. What's that?
More his aunt than his father.
Okay.
His father was absent too.
Well, okay, so the relationship doesn't necessarily mean positive. So it could be, it's just strong feelings about, oh, we lost Rainbow. It's just like if you have, like, say you have a burning hatred because he was neglectful or something as you're a kid, like that would still be a relationship. And the die rating doesn't mean how much you like them either. It's how strong the feelings are. So you could have a D10 relationship with your father, but that D10 represents the level of animosity you hold towards him or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything involving your father or your relationship with your father, if it's going to influence, you know, what you're trying to do, you can include the die from that in your pool. And then I, as the GM, basically create a pool of dice and roll for the difficulty on stuff. And all the dice in this are public. Like, there's no hidden GM rolls like in D&D. So there's no fudging, but there doesn't need to be. The other thing is that, so as you guys are going through and making decisions and stuff, you will get assets and complications. And so assets are like, you know, stuff that become important to you that along the way that we, like, say you find a tool or something, it becomes an asset and you can rate it, give it a dice rating, and then start adding that to your pool when it comes in handy, that kind of stuff. And then complications are like the opposite. So I might give you a complication, like say you have a broken leg or something, and I'm going to say that's a D10 complication, like it's a real hindrance for you. I can take that D10 from the complication pool and add it to rolls to set the difficulty for tests, stuff like that, or for NPCs. I can set their use those in the contests against you. So basically, it's always either a test of you trying to do something or a contest with another character, a player character or an NPC. Go ahead.
Should we be watching something or?
No, you don't have to remember all this.
Okay.
I'm just kind of giving the high level. It's very straightforward. As we play, you'll get the hang of it. After this session, if you want to go get the book, I have the PDF pinned in the channel. You know, you're more than welcome to go read the Prime area, where I'll give you page numbers even of where to look.
Have you looked at the PDF, like the one that you buy for like $15?
Yeah, it's the same as the book.
How is it? Like,
what do you mean?
How's the quality of it? Is what I'm trying to ask.
It's the same as the book. It's literally the book in PDF format.
Okay, so it's like you just flip the pages, like
yeah.
You just flip the pages like it's like a tablet.
Just like a PDF. Yep. Okay. I think that's it for dice, because this is all stuff you guys are going to learn along the way. Let's talk about the setting real fast. So this is modern day. We're going to just do it in real time, like right now. It's like 2021, and it's April now. So we're going to just stick with the real time calendar. We'll fast forward a bit if we need to.
Are we all locked in our houses?
I mean, you might be, or maybe you're vaccinated already. I don't know. But everything in the real world is pretty much relevant. I mean, obviously, we're going to deviate from the real world somewhat. There is some experiments going on that are really hot. So this is one thing that's different from the real world, is the scientific community is all abuzz. There's another discovery that they're trying to make with the Large Hadron Collider in particle physics, like even more monumental than confirming the Higgs boson. And nobody really understands it, and they've kind of been hush-hush about it a little bit. It's really weird. The scientific community is all abuzz about some of the stuff they're seeing when they shatter some particles together. And when we get into the actual session, I'll explain some more of those details. I haven't refined a lot of that stuff yet, so because we're probably not going to play today. I just want to help you guys put together characters and put together the sheets. But when we get in there, that's going to be a big theme going on. The news is going to be very abuzz about what's going on with the Large Hadron Collider. And so you can probably already guess there's going to be a little bit of a sci-fi element going on here, though you don't know what. I did spoil something very early on by saying where I got my inspiration from, and then changed my mind and deleted it. So if any of you saw that, you'll have a little bit of a leg up on what's going to come in the first session, but it's not that big of a deal. The real fun will obviously be the ongoing campaign.
I'm probably like dead wrong here, but I'm just like kind of sitting there going, "Oh, there's a science thing. Are we gonna have the Flash?"
You don't know. You could be right about the X-Men thing. Who knows? But basically, so what I want you to do is I want you to create a character and embed that character in the world. And you can pretty much create any character that's not too much larger than life. So you can make him a little larger than life if you want, but just not like, you can't give him superpowers. You can't make him, fly or have iron skin or anything like that, because this is not fantasy yet. There's nothing like that in here yet. So basically, you need to be living some sort of normal life, quote unquote normal, because you could still be Jeff Bezos or something, or Elon Musk, which isn't really that normal, but it's like at least plausible within the world we live in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But like things like James Bond, which are almost plausible, but not quite.
Sure, yeah. You could do something like that for sure. You just need to anchor them to reality a little bit, like make sure that they fit within reality to a certain degree. Like I said, James Bond is a perfect example of slightly larger than life. I mean, really, if you really wanted to get nitpicky, James Bond is much larger than life with all the gadgets and everything. So I might have you dial it back if you go a little too crazy. But if you're just a secret agent, like that kind of a thing, like that totally is fine. You can have some sort of affiliation with some sort of government body, some sort of security, defense body, like whatever you want your character to be affiliated with. You can be as simple as a fry cook at McDonald's. Like it's the world is your oyster as far as character creation goes. Because I am going to bring you guys together in a pretty cool way. But so one of the things I should really talk about with this campaign is it's going to be an engaging campaign. Like you're going to want to pay attention, and I'm going to be asking you guys for stuff. You guys are going to be doing collaborative world building with me. So I'm going to flesh out as much as I can, but I'm going to ask you for stuff like, hey, like what's the name of this place we're going into? Like, oh, you're going into a clothing store. What's it called? And like you guys will have to come up with a name or something. Or what does it look like in here? What does your character look like? What are they wearing? Like, think about all this stuff. Like, just kind of breathe life into them in whatever way you can. The nice thing about this is D&D gives you like specific things you can fill in: hair, eyes, age, weight, and that's like it doesn't give you tons of things. And you can add whatever to your backstory, but they don't always become relevant. Here, you're gonna constantly trying to put yourself in the shoes of your character as much as you possibly can. You can do as much or as little like voice acting as you want, but as far as role playing goes, like do try to be thinking as the character. And that's one thing that's important is when we're in hashing out a scene and trying to accomplish a goal of some kind or whatever you're doing, you don't be thinking about like, oh, like what are my spells on my skill sheet, because you're not going to have any of that kind of stuff. Instead, I just want you to do your best to imagine yourself in that character's shoes and making decisions that character would make with the tools that are available, and your imagination is kind of the limit there. You know, like if you can find something on the ground and pick it up and use it, you can do that. Dice rolls are a helpful tool in this campaign, but they are not required. If there's something you can reasonably do, like open a door or break a lock with your foot or whatever, like we don't even necessarily need to roll for it. It just depends on the situation. Some things are just going to be very straightforward, and I'm not going to make you roll for it. It's just going to make sense that your character can do it. Like in D&D, we might be like, oh, there's a wooden door here that's kind of cracked, and there's a padlock on it, an iron padlock that's kind of rusted, and we might make Rainbow roll for it or something, or make Jay's character roll for it. But maybe Gruff could just open it. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have Gruff roll. Does that make sense? Like Gruff is just this big burly dude. Like a rusted lock and a cracked wooden door are nothing for him. So we might just be like, okay, he just busts it open. It's like stuff that's intuitive and makes sense is supposed to just be intuitive and make sense. In this campaign as much as possible. So we'll experiment with how that stuff goes.
So out of curiosity, how many people have an idea of what their character is going to be?
I do.
I know Obi-Wan does. I know you do a little bit, Rainbow. I don't think Codeman and Cloak have any idea what they want to make yet, and that's what we're here for. So with that said, actually, I'm going to turn the time over to all of you. And you are welcome to forge relationships amongst yourselves as well if you want to know each other, whatever. And I'm just going to be here to answer questions, and we'll keep this short. You know, it doesn't have to be super long. It's a session 0, so I just wanted to make sure we all set aside the time to create our characters and embed them in the world. If you want to ask me questions about the world, I'll go ahead and answer them. A lot of the answers might be us right now collaborating to build some of that part of the world. That's kind of like where Cortex shines, is like we're just all going to make this thing come to life as much as we can together. It's instead of it just all being just the DM and the players are just on a roller coaster. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, do you want to take the people who have some of an idea of what they're going to play and like take turns and they can introduce them what they have so far?
Sure. That's a good idea. Obi-Wan, you want to introduce Gary a little bit?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
So Gary Powell is a college student. He is going for computer science, trying to go into some programming and computer engineering.
Awesome.
He is very awkward. His father is fairly wealthy, but his mother died when he was pretty young. He was mostly raised by his aunt, his father's sister, who is also pretty well off. She's a sound engineer. She works with record companies, but she's also a bit of the black sheep, where she's kind of one of those 80s punk rock lesbians who never lost the aesthetic. He has a best friend named Chuck. He's his dorm mate. And Chuck has made it his personal mission to pull Gary out of his shell and make him more socially capable. Gary both appreciates and resents this at the same time. He works at a little electronics store just for a little extra cash for his own expenses, so he doesn't have to ask his father for things because he pays for his tuition. And at this place, there's an assistant manager named Anna. And he has a huge crush on Anna. He feels very comfortable talking to her and being around her. They have a lot of common interests. They both love comic books. And they end up chatting their whole shifts, but Gary's crippling anxiety has kept him from making a move. Chuck's the only one who knows, and he found out about a month ago and has been hounding Gary to ask her out ever since.
Awesome.
That's about
is
it.
that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's about it for his general description.
And that right there is a perfect example. You don't have to have a ton right now. That's the cool part about Cortex is we're going to add, to your character's backstory, and you're going to have a say as it goes too. which will be kind of fun. So Gary is a perfect example. I already have ideas for how some story is going to play out with Gary when it comes to, is it Anne or Anna?
Anna,
Anna. And then what's your aunt's name again?
Missy.
Missy. Yeah, Anna,
Short for
Missy,
Lois.
Chuck. Those can all be very influential characters that I will have at my fingertips when it comes to deciding what happens to Gary here in the first session next week. So that's perfect, and that's all I need from you guys is just a very basic, backstory. And Cloak, I know you said earlier that you have a hard time with this kind of stuff, and so I'm happy to help you put that character together. You actually, what you said is basically what I do for a lot of my characters, is just come up with some archetype from film or from books or whatever, and then start from there and just kind of add stuff. So if you want some help creating your character, I'm more than happy to give you like choices or starting points, or ask questions to help guide you on like things to think about as you put the character together, like any of that stuff. And we can do that
I
on.
think I've actually got a model for it at least.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Are you up for talking about what your initial idea is?
So initial idea, and I'm even gonna straight up rip the name because I'm awful at coming up with names.
That's fine, and you can change stuff too. We haven't started playing yet.
Right. So Hank Anderson, he's a disgraced former police officer.
Okay.
Fired from the force for crossing the thin blue line, as it were.
Okay.
Which is to say, like, exposing corruption in the department, and rather than the
yes.
corruption being handled, around that same time that that he was fired, lost his wife and young son in a freak car accident, and so has turned to alcohol.
Okay. Perfect. Those the
That's
wife
about
and
as far
son
as
are great hooks. You can this is a good time for me to bring up. You can have relationships with them, even though you said they died, right? And he lost them.
Yeah.
So you could still define those relationships. Your feelings about those people matter, and you'll understand why it matters more even in this campaign. But basically, list any relationships, even if it's someone who isn't around anymore. Like if your feelings toward them still affect you and are going to be part of the character, then go ahead and list those relationships.
Okay. I think I've got something good for that, actually.
Awesome.
So I think, and I don't know how well this might be too much, seeing as you've given us a bit of a spoiler about the scientific community being a buzz.
Mm-hmm.
But has a particular disdain for advanced science, because said freak car accident was like the battery of an EV car blowing up.
Ooh. Gotcha. Okay. I like that.
That might lead to some issues, Harry, because he loves him some science.
Yeah, this is already getting interesting. I already have ideas. Okay. What about you, Rainbow? You want to describe your character a little bit? I know you have a little bit of something.
Yeah. So my character's first name is Jay. That's not Jay. That's just the Jay. Kinkle Hugh is his middle and last name. He always dresses as a lady, in female clothing, not like dresses, like a lady. And he has braided hair. He's a psychologist who has a hobby, sings karaoke, and he works a lot with college kids.
Okay. And the pronouns are still he, him, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Is that all so far?
Yeah, that's all I got so far.
Okay.
The rainbow. Karaoke in a bar? Question mark? Or karaoke
What's that?
elsewhere? I was
Yeah.
asking whether your character sings in a bar for karaoke or like somewhere else.
I'd say both bar and where we can sing karaoke.
Okay. Because I was kind of thinking that maybe it happens to be the bar that Hank frequents a lot.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I like this. It's
I don't know.
already coming together. One thing to think about Rainbow is, yeah, you can do relationships with PCs that already exist. So the Cloak's character, Hank, would be one you could already define. Any others that exist in your backstory, any bosses that you work with that you have feelings about, any family members that are important to you, like anything that you want to be relevant in this campaign, make sure to list those relationships for me. Relationships are going to be a big one in this campaign. There's going to be a lot of social drama. I'll just say that ahead of time. It's not really a spoiler. It's going to be a fundamental piece of this campaign. So really, really think about your character's relationship to the people around them, because they're going to be important. And the more detailed that you have that relationship defined, the more fun it's going to be for you in this campaign.
I could see Gary needing therapy with a bit of his background.
Yeah. I could see that too.
He might be a patient.
Yeah, that
There
could
you
work
go.
too.
I like that. Codeman, I haven't heard from you very much yet. Any idea at all what type of character you're leaning towards so far?
I don't know. I was thinking of a show. I forgot the name of it, but I was thinking of maybe doing like a. I don't know though, because I know that Cloak said he was doing like an alcoholic, but I was thinking like doing like an alcoholic fireman kind of thing. I'm
Hey,
not
don't
sure.
let someone else's choices limit you. If you happen to
that
have
would actually there's
overlaps.
a lot of good interaction that can happen between firefighters and cop. Well, I say good game wise.
Well, and
Yeah.
They
you
don't
could
particularly like each other.
possibly even connect over the fact they both share an addiction.
True.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Uh,
You all go
I
to
don't know. I'm still
Rainbow
kind of up in the air with
for
it.
therapy, and that's all. That's actually the root of all your problems.
Yeah, because he just makes jokes about it. Does it help? I'm just kidding. I don't know. I may need some time to think about it. I just
You've got a week.
And
This
you
is
guys-
just if you guys want to do the collaborative world building right now. There's no pressure. We can sit here, like it can go quiet for a little bit too. It's a session 0. Nobody has to watch this. That's just if they want to know, kind of observe the process of us putting stuff together. They're welcome to, or not. Like so, there's nothing pressing here. You're not in the spotlight. You don't have to come up with stuff right away. If you want to sit down and work together and just talk about things, about how you want to weave your social threads into this campaign, then go right ahead. If you guys are all done collaborating and don't have questions for me anymore, and you just want to have the rest of the week to think about it and put more time into it, that's totally fine. We'll stop this whenever it makes sense.
How big of a city are we in?
Well, that's just where are you guys? Where's Gary located? What city is he in?
Is me first?
Yeah.
He works well. He's moved away from home for school, so he works well in something with a lot of universities, like New York or Boston.
Okay. Okay, let's say that you're in New
Somewhere
York
with-
then. You're welcome to disagree with me, but when it comes to those kind of stuff, I'm just gonna probably kind of decide. So,
It
Rainbow,
works.
are
I
you
just
okay
have to-
with being a therapist in New York?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, makes it a little easier. It can be technically anywhere in the world. I wasn't going to put any limits on that, but if you guys are all going to have threads that run close together, it does make it a little easier, and it would be cool if you're all in the same area geographically.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think my from the show, I think he was a New York fireman. Let's
Okay.
see. I'm trying to find the show.
And so then back to what I said at the top, one thing to think about in addition to those relationships. So definitely focus on those relationships a lot, but distinctions. So like very distinct characteristics. So firefighter is one, obviously. Ex-police officer is one. Alcoholic might be one. It's up to you if it's a distinction, like a character defining distinction. You're welcome to take your time to think about those. I know Gary, one of your distinctions might just be the poor upbringing, some of the baggage you've carried with you. So you're welcome to think about how to label that and how to make it a distinctive characteristic.
I was
Just sort of-
basically just thinking neglected rich kid
Yeah,
for
there you go.
that, and-
Perfect.
and tech head for the whole science-y stuff, going for more specific than college student, you know.
Hmm.
I gotta turn this volume down. So if that's bothering you guys.
Yeah, it's.
Just on a
I was
side
just
note,
gonna
I'm
say it's
making
pretty
notes
loud.
with. Just on a side note, I'm making notes with a pen. I'm like, fuck, I'm not gonna be able to read this later. I'm kind of impressed.
I'm kind of blanking on a third one, but I'll noodle over that.
No worries. Like I said, no pressure. So
What-
distinctions are just kind of to help inspire role playing, and
So, is it going to be kind of like a show or something? Because like D&D is like you go in the dungeons and you fight things or whatever.
yes,
What are we going to be doing in this thing?
So you'll find out. I don't want to spoil that because the thing that motivates you all to kind of come together and do some things is kind of something that I would like to reveal in session 1. It'll just be kind of fun to reveal it to you. So you
We're
can
gonna
kind of
kill the Batman.
you can kind of just think about like I'm dropping a few hints here and there. So obviously the science going on with particle physics is going to come into play here. So keep that in mind.
I think Gary's probably following that, even if it's not his field.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I said I think Gary's probably following that, like watching the news of it, even though that's not really his field. It's still like really exciting to him.
I kind of figured the same
I'm
thing.
gonna say that I will be following the people who are following that.
Yeah, true. I
As a
mean,
psychiatrist.
if they're all seeing you for is Gary? You said Gary would be seeing. What's your character's name? Rainbow.
Jay Kinkle Hugh.
Jay.
Hugh.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd be seeing Dr. Hugh.
Dr. Hugh. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you might know about the stuff going on with the Hadron Collider through Gary.
It is much easier to get him to talk about his interests than his issues.
I could see that. Hey, Muffin Coo, welcome to the chat. This is
So
session
I'm gonna
0.
say,
So nothing exciting going on today, really. We're just we're working on our characters.
so since that's not a field that I specifically follow, I'm more of a psychiatrist. I'm just gonna refer to it as the Collider.
Because you're not
He will
familiar with
probably
it. Okay.
correct you.
I mean,
What's that?
if you in real life said the Collider to me, I'd probably know what you're talking about.
Gary would probably say the Large Hadron Collider like every time.
Not even LHC.
Not to be not to be like a dick or anything, but just keeping accuracy.
Okay.
I do like how the system kind of encourages the Gardner approach to character creation.
Yeah, I do like this. I think as we go through this first one, that when we start other campaigns, it'll get more and more fun too. I have other ideas and other mods we could add to the character sheets, but I wanted to keep it simple this time, so I figured we'd just get together and talk.
Or I could borrow from another one of my favorite shows, Californication. I could be like a writer.
What show?
Californication.
Yeah.
That could be
Haven't
like
heard of
a
that
writer
show.
who's kind of an alcoholic, kind of like. But I don't know. I mean, that show doesn't really have much of a storyline. It's just like a series of shenanigans. I mean, I guess he's trying to get back with his his wife, and trying to have a relationship with his daughter. I'm not sure.
Okay. Think about it. There's people in the chat,
Hey,
so
hey,
I can
Chev.
address chat while
Yeah,
you guys are talking.
you should drop the Discord link for our Twitch listeners.
Sure. Yeah, I
'Cause
can
one
do
of them
that.
looking for finding a group, and the Discord's a good place to start.
Let's do that.
And since everyone's having like these issues, I'm gonna throw in one of mine. It's gonna be I have a shoe shopping problem.
Okay.
Shoe shopping.
Muffin Coo, feel free to join us on our Discord here. This is supposed to be our little community for streaming and podcasting.
I'm also gonna say that it's left me in a little bit of debt.
Suddenly you are super loud. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is those of you watching, you're welcome to join our server. We have campaigns that are starting on a somewhat regular basis. So even if you can't get in right this second on one, there will be one eventually. So if you join the Discord and just keep notifications on, you'll get in one for sure. And we're all pretty friendly here, so just be respectful, and we'll be respectful back. And it's easy to make friends here. Welcome, Core. Welcome, Necro Fried Chicken.
I love that. Man. All right. So we're thinking everyone's in New York.
So it
We
sounds
all
like.
agreed that. All right. Well, it also works for the cop because they kind of have that special nickname of New York's finest.
Mm-hmm.
And if a hood man decides to stick with firefighter, they're called New York's bravest.
Yeah, I was kind of liking the firefighter better, even though I haven't seen that show all of it. But just that kind of like could lead off. I could kind of make a backstory maybe this week and figure it all out.
Okay.
Are you would you be just one of the ones running in, or would you be medical?
I guess it's one of the muscle guys is running or whatever. I don't
Just
think I would be a
wondering.
medic.
All right. Just wondering if maybe he could have showed up when Gary's mother or something. Though he was 7, so probably wouldn't recognize it. Like just be one of the people that arrived. But actually, she was a long illness. Never mind. She would have been in the hospital.
Yeah.
Rainbow lost internet. Uh-oh.
Unfortunate.
Hopefully you can get that fixed before our actual session.
Yeah, Gary's not too social, so I don't see him going around it. And I probably see him being pretty afraid of authority figures, so I don't think he would really approach or be too friendly with cops.
I think one of the things you said about his antisocialness is he's also afraid to admit his crush on his coworker, right? The assistant manager.
Yeah.
Even though she clearly did well, maybe it's not so clearly. Is she just really nice to him because that's just how she is, or does she have a thing for him and she's just waiting for him to make a move? Or do you want to answer that?
I have it, and how I would like it to be, I think, is that she does have a thing for him and is waiting to make the move, but he keeps convincing himself that she's just being nice.
Gotcha. Okay. The classic.
He does have to make arguments with Chuck. That was probably the first one. Probably the most easily Chuck defeated.
Okay.
Um,
But
probably
there's
right now the excuse he's working on is she's the assistant manager, so she's in charge, and thus not proper.
gotcha. Let's explore Chuck a little bit. So, did you guys become fast friends? Begrudging friends?
Yeah. I'm saying fast friends. Like Chuck just instantly saw Gary and says, "I am going to take." Like Chuck is also very nerdy. He's in there for electrical engineering. A lot of the things that he first started taking Gary outside of the dorm to were like things like magic card drafts.
Okay.
Um, so, but just Chuck is, and on, hold on one second.
Okay. No worries. What about you, Cloak? Do you have any
About
more
me.
details you've thought of? Like what actually happened to your wife and daughter?
Son, but
Oh, son, excuse me.
I mean, I think I
Can you guys see me
kind
now?
of,
Yep.
yeah, I can hear you, Rainbow. I think I kind of
Sorry,
touched
the
on
mic.
that already.
Okay, you said it
As
was a
far
car
as,
accident because of the battery. That's
well,
right.
a car accident of sorts, but like they weren't even struck by another car.
Right. Okay. Just the battery just
Literally, the
exploded.
battery just exploded
Okay.
and blew the car to smithereens.
Okay. Just gonna take a few notes here, but I'm definitely gonna request you guys all write them down like Obi-Wan did before. Is it reasonable to ask you guys to have your stuff to me by Thursday?
Yeah, I
I
can
think
do
so,
that.
yeah.
So
Okay.
did you hear the part where I said I have since everyone was having problems with alcohol and stuff, I actually decided to add one that mine is going to be a shoe shopping problem.
Yeah, I did hear you. Yes.
Okay. And also said that's going to leave me in a bit of debt.
Okay.
Uh,
Just shoes or just shopping in general?
shopping for shoes, and I have like just almost a house full of shoes. It's almost like a hoarder problem.
Okay. Is it just you like shoes? Is it a fetish, or is there more details to that, or is it just you just like shoes and having different choices
I,
for fashion?
I like having different choices for fashion.
Okay.
Or the thrill of getting something new.
It's probably a little bit of both. To get something new and liking having the shoes for like
Okay.
different looks.
Cool. How passionate is your character about their occupation? Like, are they a renowned therapist? Like, are you just starting out? Like, what can you elaborate more
I,
on the
I
career?
would say that I would say they do like a really good job. They're not like writing books or anything, but they're just trying to get people on track, and
Okay,
they work really a lot with the college
so a good track record
and
then of helping people.
yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
awesome. What about you, Codeman? As a firefighter, an active firefighter? I know Cloak's an ex-cop.
Yeah, no, he's an active firefighter.
Okay.
So
Maybe be thinking about like some notable things that have happened in his past. You know, maybe
like
a
I know in the
notable
show,
rescue, or maybe someone, if you've ever had anything tragic happen where you tried to save someone but couldn't, that kind of stuff.
right? Like I know in the show it's supposed to be based after like right after 9/11, so he lost some friends, in the 9/11 thing, and his marriage fell apart and he went to drinking and stuff like that.
Oof, yeah, okay.
So
Kind of
he'd be
dark.
in like his 40s, 50s ish.
Yeah, yep. It's the show Rescue Me. It's, um
Oh yeah, age is a
I
good
should probably go back
question.
and watch an episode. But yeah, I think he would be like, yeah, like in his early 40s, let's say. Or maybe no, let's say like mid 40s, like 45.
Okay. And I'm guessing Gary's early
Would that
20s,
mean-
right?
Yeah. Would that mean he has rank? Gary's like just about 21, like just now can drink.
Okay.
I don't know how
I'm gonna
firefighting
say-
stuff works, honestly.
Yeah, I'm like
39.
39.
It's probably on Wikipedia. I've had to do that for several campaign plannings.
Rainbow, did you
For
say
different-
89?
No, 39, 39.
Oh, I was like, wow. My whole mental picture of your character just did a 180. What about you, Cloak? Yeah, it's technically not D&D Necrofried. We just don't have another really good option on Twitch for tabletop. It's called Cortex Prime, and it is modern day. Yes. Sorry, go ahead, Cloak.
So give or take 50.
Okay.
So Gary is this young kid running around with a bunch of middle-aged men.
Well, not yet, anyway, right?
Yes,
The only-
will be.
The only one you really know would be the therapist. Which, sorry, Rainbow, remind me of the first name again. I know it's Hugh. Is Dr. Hugh?
Jay.
Jay. That's right. Okay, Jay Hugh.
Two first names.
Yeah, so just make sure to put. Here's how I'll have you guys lay out your sheets. Put their name at the top, and then put their pronouns next to the name, please. They might be intuitive, but I just would like to see them. Plus, also try and make it decent, like make a Google Doc or something, because I would like to share them publicly so that people who are watching the show can view them. If you guys are okay with that. So put your name, put pronouns, put
What do you
general
mean by
appearance.
pronouns?
He,
Like, it's
him,
been a long
she,
time since I was
her,
in
they,
English.
them. Those.
Can you
Okay.
read that, Chev?
What's that,
I'll
Rainbow?
probably make it a lot cleaner, but can you read that? I just put it in parallels.
Why is it a zip file?
Yeah, why do I have to open
I
a
don't
zip
know.
file?
I just wanted to see if you can read this because I'm using my Samson notes, and I want to know if you could read the Samson notes.
I'd really rather you just make a Google Doc or something simple, but yeah, please make a Google Doc if you don't mind.
You can't read that. All right.
It's readable.
Well, how about a PDF?
I mean,
Let me try
I can
PDF.
read it. We're gonna share this. I'd rather have something a little more nicely
Yeah.
formatted.
Oh yeah, this is just rough draft. I just want to know if you could actually open up and read it.
I
Or
mean,
see
yeah,
it.
it's a little bit of a struggle, but I can. Oh yeah. So let me continue. So name at the top, pronouns, and then the very next thing I want underneath the name is your appearance description. So, hair color, hair length, eye color, skin color, just anything you can think of that defines your character's appearance. That will help me. And that way it's right there at the top, so that when I'm introducing you guys, it's easy for us to build that picture. And then after that, go into your backstory, and just put as much or as little as you need in there for the backstory. You don't have to write a book, but do pull out the important elements like the relationships and stuff. And below the backstory, put those like listed line by line, and rate them. So the ratings are. So let me actually just find relationships here in the book, and I'll read you how they rate the relationships.
So you said name, description, backstory, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're finding that, Necrofried Chicken, there won't be any magic, but it is still definitely an adventure, not just like RPing therapy sessions.
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
do the
no.
magic of.
It's gonna be more of a sci-fi twist. That's not really a spoiler.
Oh, I believe this can be the magic of friendship.
Oh. I did find a list of firefighter ranks if you're interested, Codeman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probationary firefighter, driver engineer, lieutenant, captain, battalion chief, assistant chief, fire chief.
I'll have to do some research. I think I want to say he was like a lieutenant or something, like in the show, but I can't
mean,
remember.
If he was in 9/11 and he's in his 50s, he might be the one who's like in charge of the station, depending on his own ambitions and politics.
Yeah. Um.
And I think next week is gonna be a lot easier for me because I'll have my earbuds. I won't have to do with the phone and the tablet.
Okay, good. Yeah, because if we're having constant disconnects, I might end up asking you to go to your computer. Okay,
I got to order them today.
I found the relationships page. I just didn't want to interrupt you guys. So like the size of the die is the rating. Don't worry about the numbers on them. But so a D4 is an I don't feel anything for this person. So usually probably means that you shouldn't even have it as a relationship, but there may be exceptions there where you want to list the relationship and make sure it's clear that you don't feel anything for that person. A 6, this person matters, but so do a lot of people. An 8, D8 is I'm invested in this person. A D10, this person matters more than most. And a D12, there's nobody who matters more than they do. And now just remember, if listen to the text carefully, there's nobody who matters more than they do could still mean somebody you hate, seethingly hate. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't mean you love them.
So
Okay.
we roll for each
Right.
relationship that we have.
It's not a roll. Listen to me. It's just you're just rating it.
Okay, I got it.
And the rating is D4, D6, D8, D10, or D12. And those are the.
So I got
mean.
confused because you said die.
Yeah, because it's a die. Because you're gonna take that die and put it into a dice pool when you do roll to do stuff. So that's why it's dice as a rating. But as you're putting it together, there's no rolling. The numbers don't matter. Just the size of the dice is what matters.
Basically, for each stat, instead of having a number to represent the stat, you have a dice to represent the stat.
Correct. Yeah, your distinctions are all a D8. You're welcome to list a D8 next to each of those distinctions if you want. Those don't matter. Those are going to be stepped up or stepped down based on the way they're interacting with what you're trying to do. So if you're like, oh, I need to use my IT skills, you're going to try to add that D8 to the pool, I might be like, well, actually, the fact that you have those skills makes it a hindrance for you for whatever, make up a reason. So I'm going to have you step that D8 down to a D6. Does that make sense? So distinctions are all a D8. Those you don't rate. Relationships you rate. And then the only other thing you're going to rate outside of those relationships is your 3 main abilities, which is strength. Hold on. Go back to the back of this book here. So not strength, excuse me. Physical, mental, and social. And let me actually look up attributes just so I can make sure I read that to you. So, attributes, assets and complications, doom pool, traits.
Physical strength and what?
It's just physical, mental, and social. Those are the 3 attributes that we're going to assign ratings to. I'm going to need to go to the index to find what I need. One thing about using a physical book. I love the feel of it, but sometimes I just can't get where I want to go fast enough. All right, 49. Here we go. Prime characters. Attributes. So attributes represent raw ability, prowess, and effort. They rarely offer an insight into a character's experience, training, or external circumstances. They do make a good baseline for a prime set. If you're not sure where to start with prime sets, go start with attributes. Okay. So any conceivable test or contest can fall into one of three areas: mental, physical, or social. And you can use these as your attributes, or you can expand beyond the shape. We're just going to go with those because to make it easy. So let's see, rating attributes. Attributes usually have a rating from 6 to 10, although there are exceptions. Everyone has a rating in each of them. So and when I say 6 to 10, I mean a D6 to D10. So that would be D6, D8, D10. That's the range they're talking about. Although there are exceptions, everyone has a rating in each of them, and they usually default to 8. Higher rated attributes must be balanced out with lower ones. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. So you could put them all as 8 for your attributes, but if you want one of them, like let's say you want social to be a 10, then you need to drop mental or physical down to a 6. Does that make sense? They have to average
so the
out.
8.
So basically, you're going to have one be an 8 at least, because there's only 3. And so you'd only be able to, you could bump one up to a 10, and you have to bump another one down to a 6 in order to get that 10. Does that make sense?
So what do they start at?
8. So you can have all 3 of them at an 8. If it's just a well-rounded
Okay.
character that's got good physical, average physical ability, average mental and social abilities, then 8, 8, 8.
I like the split between mental and social.
Okay. So then you can make one of
what
those
would
a
that be?
10. What do you mean? What do you mean by split?
I want it to be evenly between mental and social, and drop the
So-
physical.
It can't be even. You can make physical a 6, and you can make mental or social an 8, and then the other one a 10.
I'm gonna make mental 10 since I'm a psychiatrist, and then 8 for social.
Okay.
I think social might be more important, just from my experience in being in therapy, but not necessarily done. Like the worst therapist I would have, I would say probably put the D10, and the worst therapist I have had, probably put the D10 in mental.
Well, I figure 8's a pretty good at social, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Average,
no,
yeah.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
So here's the description. So 6 is typical, an average degree of ability. So actually 6 isn't even bad. 6 is just average. So if you put a 6 in physical, you're just average. It's not bad. An 8 is excellent, above average performance. So by default, you're kind of above average on all of those. If you put all of them as 8s. And then a 10 is remarkable, greatly above average, and a 12 is incredible, peak levels of ability. But I'm not letting you start anything at 12. So your choices are 6 to 10.
I figured like 10 for mental would be like pretty good because I got to know what all these diseases are, these mental illnesses are, and
Are you prescribing medication or giving therapy?
Yeah, are you a
both.
psychiatrist or a therapist?
I'm giving medication.
Okay. Yeah, that's
All right,
totally
yeah,
up
that'd
to you then,
probably-
Rainbow.
I think Gary will probably drop down social and bring up mental because he's very bright but very
Yeah, so just list those on your sheet. The relationships are not dependent on each other the way those attributes are. So relationships can be whatever you need them to be. And that's it. There's going to be some other mods I think we'll consider adding. But for now, I just want to make it real damn easy. Like when you go to build your dice pool to do a test, it's like, oh, this is going to be mental, physical, and also this distinction of mine will matter. So you'll grab the dice for each of those with 3 dice pool, roll them, take the top 2, that's your roll, and then I will roll the difficulty. If it's a test, like the test is like you're trying to do something, but it doesn't involve any other characters but your own character, then I will roll the difficulty first, and then I'll be like, well, this is what you'll have to beat, and then you can put your dice pool together, roll as a contest. If excuse me, as a test, I mean, and if it's a contest, that means someone else is trying to roll against you, either one of my characters or another player character. And obviously the character in question would be the one that rolls against you. So in a contest, the first person to act is the one to roll first. And then the other character will roll after that. And there's some cool stuff in here. There's like a Doom pool that I can introduce as a GM. Let's talk, while you guys are here, let's talk a little bit about the rolls a little more. If you roll ones, those are called hitches. And we didn't even talk about plot points. This is my bad. Again, we'll learn as we start rolling for the session. But so hitches they don't count. So even though it's a 1, you don't add the 1 to your total. If you roll a hitch, then it's a dead die. So if you roll 3 dice, let's say they're all d6s and 2 of them are 1s, then only the total from the one that wasn't a 1 counts. Hitches are if you roll hitches, I can give you plot points, and there's lots of things you can spend plot points on, and I think we'll cover those next time. But plot points are like, I'm going to be giving them out like candy a lot of the time, and you're going to be able to use those to really influence the story and stuff as it goes. There's going to be a pile of plot points, and I actually need to study up on the plot points myself, which is probably why I kind of forgot about it for a second, just to make sure I understand them completely. But basically, when you roll hitches, those don't count in your roll, but you get plot points out of them. And then I can activate those hitches to create complications for you guys. And then also, likewise, when I roll hitches, you'll be able to activate those to either decrease a complication. So I think you can activate it, spend a plot point, and then you can like step down a complication. And by step down, it means take the die and step it down a size. If you step down a D4, it goes away. So you can get rid of a complication completely if it's a D4 complication and you step it down. Or you can step up an asset or create an asset. I'm going to give you guys those details in more detail next week. I've tried to take in this whole book at once. And now I think that we've sat here talking, I can kind of focus in on some of these things. And those will be the assets, complications, and the plot points, or something I will make sure I understand completely before next week. But there's some fun stuff in there for us to be able to manipulate the way things are going.
Do you happen to have the link for the? I know I looked at the pins, but it's not really taking me to the store to get the digital book.
If you look in the pins, there should be an Amazon link. So pinned, it's the very first one.
That's the $40. The second one, I guess.
You said physical book. That's the only physical.
No, I said digital.
Oh, if you want digital, then it's the next one.
Yeah, I go there and it's not taking me. It's just taking me to the drive to download it.
Yeah, because that's the PDF of the digital book that I'm sharing with you guys.
Oh, I wanted to go buy it.
If you buy
I couldn't download it last time.
So if you buy it, it's just the website with the same exact info as the PDF. So if you want to buy it, it's cortexrpg.com, which is the next one after that, the third pin. That'll take you to the website. It'll take you to the explore the rules basics thing, but then you can go to the player handbook, and then it will ask you to buy it. So if you want to pay for it, there you can. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much all I have, I think. Do you guys still have more collaboration you'd like to do on the stream, or do you want to kill the stream and just have the time free?
I can't think of anything to connect Gary to either Codeman or Cloaking Devices characters.
So I was thinking that Jay could be the link because you're all going to therapy, I think, is what you decided, right?
I thought it was Gary's going to therapy and Jay sings at the bar that I'm blanking on Codeman and Cloaking Devices names right now, but that they frequent.
Hank and what was your name's code? Yours name's Codeman.
I'll be back. I
My
need to do
character
something real
name?
fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, in the show, his name is Tommy.
Tommy. Okay. You're welcome to change
Um,
it before next week. I just want to have something to call him right now.
Okay, Tommy.
Yeah, whatever you guys officially put down on your sheets and send to me, that's what it'll end up being. So yeah, so get me those by Thursday. By end of day Thursday is going to be the deadline there.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, in fact, you know what? While we're sitting here and you guys are thinking about stuff, I will just go to Drive and create a template. Let's see.
Yeah, that would help
here.
because I didn't write down those things you said, so like I should have.
I had a Google Doc open while you were talking.
So let's just do character name, pronouns, and physical appearance. I'll just give some examples. Okay. Physical appearance, and then let's actually define. I'm going to put the relationships above the backstory. Let's do relationships, and then I'll do an example thing again. Okay, and then I'll put. Let's do where'd the relationship thing go? There's distinctions. There we are. And you're welcome to delete all the stuff that's in italics off of here. Dang it. Okay, and then a D8. Oops. D9. I'm a dumbass. Okay. And then a D12 is there's nobody who matters more than they do. Okay, so there's relationships. And actually above relationships, I'll do the attributes. We'll do that one next.
Do you guys have any like other character ideas that maybe I could do? Still kind of like tossing, thinking.
Just like suggestions.
Yeah, like maybe a character you thought about doing, but then you changed your mind, or like some kind of suggestion. Yeah. I don't know.
Upon seeing this, I immediately thought of Gary. Um, I kind of already had him, though he was actually a side character, NPC, in which I played Anna in another game.
Okay.
So I kind of had an idea, and I saw that setting, and was like, ooh, and just got hit with inspiration for that. So I wasn't really thinking anything specifically, but it's really just, general person, as long as they're interesting and know people.
I just got like another idea. I was thinking I could be like a stockbroker. You know, what I
There you
mean, I'm
go.
in New York, Wall Street. I could be like
Oh,
somebody who's into stocks.
you could know Gary's dad.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't specifically narrowed it down, but stock sounds like a good career for this very work-focused absentee father. It happens a lot in that industry.
Yeah. Oh, so I could be like the dad.
No, like a friend, you'd know his dad. Like maybe you
Oh,
work at
okay.
the same office, and you're
Yeah,
just
I'm
like,
kind of liking
hey,
this idea a little more.
that's my coworker's kid. What's he doing over here? Or that's my friend's kid. What's he doing over here? Kind of thing.
Yeah. I could run like my own hedge fund or something and be like a Wall Street guy or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. You're just two Wall Street guys doing Wall Street guy stuff.
Yeah.
Like Gary
Have my
doesn't
own
really know
I
his
can have my own
father.
company like Berkshire Hathaway. I don't think of what I'd call mine, but or a part of a partnership with another broker or something.
Yeah. Well, you could do Powell if you want to do Gary's dad as a partner.
Powell? Why do you say Powell?
Powell. Like Colin Powell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just thought of the name
That's,
though?
did I just think of it?
Yeah.
No, I had Gary's last name as Powell. Colin Powell was the Secretary of Defense.
No, yeah, I know who he is. I was just trying to figure out where you pulled that name out of.
Oh, he was Secretary of State.
What? No, yeah, you're right. You're right. That was my mistake. It was a
Okay.
long time ago when I was.
Sorry. So I pinned a Google Doc to let me know, make sure you guys can all access it. I think you should be able to. That's the template. So just follow that in there. Anything in italics, feel free to delete. It's just there to help you, help guide you through it. Let me know if you guys have questions on that, and then if not, and you guys are done collaborating on your characters, then I think we'll just call it.
Decode Man, did you want to do anything further on that? You have any questions about Gary or his dad?
Uh,
I'm back.
so you're saying I'm a friend of Gary's dad?
Yeah,
Possibly.
or his business partner.
Yeah.
You're like at least going to be in the same industry.
Yeah. All right. I'm getting some ideas. I think his name's gonna be like Sean Franco or something like that. I'm not sure.
I like that. That's a cool name.
It is a good one. Okay. Rainbow, I guess you were gone. I have finished the template, the template document. So it's in the Parallels channel. It's pinned. So just click that and fill it in. Feel free to delete anything in italics. The italics is just there to help you out. So I wrote some little brief descriptions. I wrote the dice ratings for the relationships. And I gave you a few examples. So distinctions, 3 of them. Relationships, as many as are relevant to your character. Attributes, they're listed there already. Physical, mental, social. By default, they're all a D8. You can step one of them up, but you have to step another one down if you do. So you can put one as a D10. You just have to make one of them a D6 to do that. And then physical appearance, I listed things that I would like to know about your character, and then anything else you can think of there. And then, of course, the pronouns and the name and the backstory. That's it. That's how simple the sheet
It's
is.
showing me. It says view only right now.
Yeah, so if you go to File and you go to Make a Copy, you can make a copy onto your own Google Drive.
Should you just read the book from the website or what?
Yeah, if you're going to go the digital, that's
Oh.
what digital means.
I thought maybe it gave me like a digital copy with Google or something.
No, it's I tried to tell you, it's either the PDF or the website. That's all you got, or the physical book.
Yeah, I can do the PDF. It won't open for me. All right, yeah, that's cool. I just got it. That's where it was.
Okay. Cloak, did you have anything else that you wanted to discuss, or are you good to call it?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks guys for attending session 0. Hopefully it helps kickstart your guys' characters, and I will make sure that I am ready for next week, and we'll do our very first session, which I'm pretty stoked about. So thanks for those of you watching, Muffaku, Necro Fried Chicken, whoever else. Tune in next Saturday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. That's when we'll be doing session 1 of Parallels. All right, guys. Have a good